Hey guys, welcome to Sippin' and Spillin' with Sid from 3 Mississippi. It's a beautiful day today. It's much warmer than it's been the last 2 days, but it's a beautiful day. I have to take a sip of the water. Got to hydrate. Um, I have a few things to tell you guys. There's stuff that happened. So I'll start with what happened yesterday. So yesterday, on Thursdays, a lot of times I don't post a sippin' and spillin' because we've just done our live on Wednesday night, and I'm usually kind of doing the final touches on Friday's video on 3 Mississippi, and I sort of feel like just sort of just don't post one on that day. So I had fully planned to clean the house because after, now that the farmer's market's over and the craziness of that, I was kind of trying to put the house back in order and just kind of deep clean it. But before I did that, I was like doing all my outside chores, and I was like, there's some like area like edging that needed done. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna weed whack. And then I knew like my flower bed, I needed to kind of weed whack around the edge, the borders that I put in a while ago. So I'm weed whacking, but of course I started because I get a little distracted. I get like, squirrel brain, I guess. And I was like, well, I'm going to weed whack over here. And then I was weed whacking over here. And then I was weed whacking over here. And Bunko is just not cooperating today. And I just was like, well, I was kind of hodgepodging it, but I did like end up doing like 3/4 of the way around the house and over by the hose spigot because it was sort of like this one little tuft area by the hose spigot was real grown up. And every morning I have to go turn on the hose to go do the animals. So it was kind of bugging me, I guess you could say. So anyway, so I'm weed whacking, I'm weed whacking, I'm weed whacking. And then all of a sudden, the weed whacker just stopped. And we have not had it that long. And not only have we not had it that long, we haven't used it that much. And so we reached out to the company and they're actually going to send us a replacement. And so we'll talk about that in another video, but kudos to them. If you guys have paid attention on any of our other videos on 3 Mississippi, you could probably guess what brand it is because we have pretty much all the same brand of tools because all of the batteries are interchangeable. And Mike likes that. So anyway, I'm excited to be getting a new weed whacker here. It's going to take a couple weeks for it to get here apparently. But Mike was able to use the push mower and at least do the rest of like the big edges for me. So that was something. At least it looks a little bit better weed wise. I'll show you guys real quick. I'll just turn it so you guys can see. Hopefully you can see because of it's really bright out right now, but you can see there's so many butterflies out here right now, guys. They keep coming and drinking from the hummingbird feeders, and then I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a butterfly like right over there just beyond the flamingo. But yeah, so and then Mike and Frankie last night, which they didn't film it, kind of surprised they didn't film it. They replaced the blades on the Cub Cadet because they were trashed. He kind of had been a little aggressive with cutting some areas that maybe probably should have been bush hogged and not lawn mowed. But hey, live and learn. But we also have had it for a year. I don't know what the normal blade lifespan is. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, but I guess a year isn't too bad. So he mowed on that a little bit more yesterday. And then, as you guys know, we've got the or maybe you don't, or no, I did talk to you guys about it on here about the birds. I think I did. Oh, yes, now I can't remember what I told you guys and what I didn't because I'm getting senile. But you'll see that in today's video on 3 Mississippi. No, you won't see that on today's video. That's a different video. See, I start forgetting what's happened and what hasn't. This is what happens when you get old and you're working on too many videos at once. You start forgetting what you've said, what you've done, and what you've posted. But I think I did tell you guys on Sippin' and Spillin' that we've got the birds out further out on the pasture now. And so in the mornings, I've got to kind of slide. I've got like a gate in place that I kind of slide out, and then I opened up well, or it had already opened automatically. I need to reset the timer on the chick cozy door, and I've heard other people say this, that it kind of reminds me of those old like Swatch watches that just kind of slowly gain time. Um, so it's supposed to open at 6:30, but it's been opening at like quarter two or 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I had it set to close at 8 o'clock at night. And then I've noticed a couple times when I've been out there at like 7:30 or whatever, the doors are already closed and the birds are trying to get in. And I'm like, well, this isn't working. So I checked it, and I'm like, okay, well, so I reset it to close later. I didn't reset the time, but I didn't know until this morning that the opening time was different because I hadn't been doing it that way for a few days. I do need to adjust the height of it because it's down too low. It needs to be up higher because they keep getting schmegma in the tracks. And supposedly, if you put it a little higher, it keeps that from happening so that the doors basically don't jam. So that when they get jammed, they either like think that they're already closed or open wherever they ended up getting stuck because of whatever's in the track. And then it just won't close or won't open. So when you go out there, you got to just kind of like clear it and do it manually. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But so that's one of those things that we've got to work on. And then this weekend, but that's kind of an easier fix, I'd imagine. This weekend, hopefully, I'm hoping we'll get the gate hung on the back end of the coop. And then be able to get those the other dog house in there so I can move Nash on that side, and then really focus on working with them separately. I have been working with them separately. Kusi is definitely fighting me a little bit more on everything, but he gets along great with the goats, and he does keep a watchful eye, which is his main job. So that's important. But Nash is just she wants to please. She wants to seems like she wants to like learn, I guess. Like she's pretty good at sitting now. She follows really well. She comes really well. They're both doing well at staying at the gate. Because I've been teaching them to stay, like when I open the gate versus like if I want them to follow me out or if I want them to stay in. So I'll say, stay, and then they won't cross that line of the gate. So they're being good about that, both of them. But they're still young. They're only like 12 weeks old, almost 13, or right about 13 weeks, I guess, actually, technically. I'd have to do the math, but they're still real young. So I don't expect them to have it all down pat overnight either. I mean, even with Lundy, it took her a while to kind of get things down. It's some dogs just learn certain things faster than others too. So, but anyway, it'll be nice to have them split. So I'll have her out with the birds, and then I can pen them all up at night, her included. And then he'll be off with the goats. And again, same thing. He'll be, penned up at night, and I'll just let him out in the morning and all of that. So, so far so good. Everybody's been getting along. Everybody's doing well. And that's been good. So, if we can get that gate added on there this weekend, I'll be real happy about that, because once that's done and that other house is moved, Frankie can drop a load of dirt in there, and I can handle the rest of kind of fixing up the run a little bit, and then we can work on that fencing for Beulah, for Frankie's horse. So, but the other thing that happened today, guys, I'm actually going to be making some goat milk ice cream here shortly, which I will be filming for you guys, because I know a lot of people were asking about it. And I've done videos in the past, last time she was in milk. I've done videos on making cheese and making ice cream. But I will do an updated one with this kitchen, I guess. Same ice cream maker, which you can find on our Amazon store. I do love that ice cream maker. It was one of the cheaper ones, and I feel like it's a pretty solid one. Like, it works really well, and I've been happy with it. But anyway, so I'll be making that in a little bit. So Mike will be happy, because tonight, side note, we're going to a training session that the community is putting on for basically, like, if you have an active pew situation, like while you're attending church, or I mean, it would apply to anywhere, I would imagine, but this one's specifically for church. Um, so one of our local officers is actually going to be instructing, and Mike and I thought it would be a good thing for us to attend. And so we're going to be doing that. But afterwards, we're going to grab a bite to eat at No Way Jose. But he'll be happy because I can say, hey, there's ice cream waiting for you at home that I made. So he'll be happy because he hasn't had my ice cream in a while, which also sounds like a euphemism for something, but I promise you it's not. Um, but yeah, so um, I'm not sure which variety I'm gonna make. To be honest, I'm gonna do my base vanilla just because, well, that is Mike's favorite. Is just plain vanilla. But I have done it where I've swirled in like preserves before, and I've added like chocolate chips before, and I forget what else. I feel like I did something else one time at Frankie's request, but it ended up being kind of weird, and I don't remember what it was. It might have been something weird like Fruity Pebbles or something. That's one of her favorite things, which I do not understand. I think they are disgusting and weird and not a fan. But anyway, so we'll have that tonight when we get home. After that little training session, we can have some ice cream. But today, guys, I don't know if you remember, but several weeks ago, I was harvesting the elderberries out back, and there's a little birdhouse out there on the telephone pole, and there were little birds in it. Now, kind of late in the season, because I knew there had been birds in it in the early spring, but there was another bird that made a nest in there and had little babies, and they are bigger now. And one of them either flew out of the nest or semi fell out of the nest. I did notice the mom and dad birds. I don't know what kind of birds they were. I'm not real good with my wild birds, guys, so I apologize. I'm much better with my domestic breeds. But I don't know if it like fell out or kind of half fell, half flew out, but it was like on the ground underneath the elderberries. And I kind of heard the mom and dad sort of like freaking out, but I didn't realize what had happened. Well, anyway, I grabbed it, and it was a little like stunned and shocked. The mom and dad were kind of freaking out, and of course, they say if a baby bird falls, you just try not to touch it. Blah blah blah. I know all of that, but it seemed like it still had down on it, but it was mainly feathered out. It still had baby bird mouth a little bit, where you know what I'm talking about, where the bird's beak is kind of rounded on the side. And it definitely like it wasn't, it was stunned. So and the mom and dad were kind of circling and freaking out, and so I think it fell. Anyway, so I kind of just put it back in the nest. Like I looked at it, make sure like nothing was kind of like broken on it. There was no like it was alive and all that. Anyway, I put it back in, and I've left it alone. I kind of watched for a little bit to see if the mom and dad would go back to the nest, and they just kind of kept circling it. I think they were just nervous because I had come so close. I don't know. But anyway, but they were still very active and like circling it. And they were still kind of like looking for it on the ground and in the bush. So I'm gonna go check on it in a little while. I'll probably give you guys an update on that in the next couple days, if I even have an update for you. But I hope that it's okay. I felt so bad for it because I love birds. I'm sitting here watching my hummingbirds go crazy. And I don't want it to be hurt, and I just hope that it's okay. But anyway, I think it just wasn't quite ready to be flying yet, and I think it just I think it tried and failed. But I didn't see any other little birds in the nest either, but I didn't grab the ladder, so I was just kind of blindly, like I could reach it, but I couldn't really see. So I don't know. Hopefully it's okay. I'm going to check on it. I'm going to try and see if it's all right. But hopefully it's fine. We're going to think happy thoughts. But so it was always a little devastating to see like a little injured animal like that, that's, a harmless animal. Like and that's not, like all it's doing is gonna like eat bugs and help pollinate. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a skunk or like a possum that's going to go after my chickens or my eggs or something like that I'm like, oh, who cares? Like, one less. There's so many of them. But the birds, I just have a special affinity for birds too. And they do help keep the bugs down. Speaking of which, today you know how you always hear the cicadas, but you never see them? At least I never do. I see the shells sometimes, like when they split their skins. But I never see live ones. Well, I was over by the coop and I was uh, putting my bucket down after coming back from the goats, and I put my bucket down by the coop and I hear this like weird noise that sounded like an angry frog. It didn't sound like a cicada. And I was like, that's weird. I wonder what made that noise. There's probably a frog right there that I just can't see, whatever. And then I go to move the bucket again and it kind of jumped and like yelled at the same time. And I like threw the bucket because it startled me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. So I go get my little fish net that I use in the stock tank to get the debris out. And I like scooped it up. And it must have been like partway through the shed or something, because it didn't try to like fly away or anything. So I opened up the bird coop and went in, and of course they all come running when they see me. And one of my Muscovies was standing right there, and I kind of just plopped it out of the net, and it hit the duck's foot, and the duck totally ignored it, and it's still looking at me like for food. And I'm like, bro, I just gave you a giant cicada. And the cicada just then like jumped, and it just grabbed it and started chomping it, and I just watched it eat the whole, and it was big, and it was one of my smaller ducklings, one of my females, and this thing was like this big, and just it took it a while to like chomp it down, but boy did she. It was impressive. That's all I'm gonna say. It was impressive chomping. But keep a good thought for the baby bird. I'm gonna go check on it in a little bit, and hopefully it'll be okay. And hope that my ice cream turns out well too. And that'll be obviously coming up in a future video next week, probably in next Friday's video. Today's video, if you haven't checked it out yet, we did some vaccinations that were much needed around the farm here, and got that squared away and gave you an update on some of the birds and eggs that Chrissy from Paragon Ridge Ranch brought by here for me a few weeks ago. So you definitely want to check that out. And this Sunday's video is going to be kind of resituating a few things on the farm and getting things a little more cozy for the dogs and the goats, of course, and getting that all squared away. So I hope you go and check it out on 3 Mississippi. And I guess that's it. Until then, guys, stay blessed and safety's off.